the member functions of a class can be overloaded. The member functions of a class can be overloaded, and other aspects also we have discussed about the member functions and data. So one more key feature of static members, one more key feature of data members of a class is the static data members. We know that a class will have the data members and member functions. So among those data members, a key feature called static property will be associated with the data members. So that what is the special property of the static data members? So the static members are useful if you want to share the common information with all the objects of a class. If you want to share the common information with all the objects of a class, so then we will go for static data members. So static data members can also be assumed as global data, because in programming we have two types of data whenever we are executing the functions, the local data and the global data, or in other words, the local variable or the global variable. Local variable is accessible only within the function, whereas the global variable is accessed by all the functions present in the program. So static data is very similar to the global data, or not similar. It is going to hold the global data which is common to all the objects. Data which you want that every object should use that data. Then we go for using static data members. So some of the examples for static data members or global data is, if you want to have the total number of present objects, that is one global variable. And if there is some common data which has to be shared by all the objects, then we go for using the static data members. Then we go for using the static data members. So static data members will usually carry the global information which has to be shared or used by all the objects. That means the static data value should be constant across all the objects. The value of the static data member should not change. The value of the static data member should not change. One second. For explanation purpose, I wanted to take a blackboard, but it's not working. So one example for the static data member could be the interest rate. You want to define a predefined value for the interest rate. That means at the interest of 4.5%, every object should use the common interest rate. No object is allowed to use the other interest value, that is constant value, and the same value should be used by all the objects. In such scenarios, we go for using the static data members, and the static data members are initialized only once. They are not going to change during the execution of the program. The static data members are not going to change during the execution of the program, because its value remains constant, and the value of that will be used by all the objects across the program execution. It will be used by all the objects across the program execution. That is what I told, interest rate. If there is a class called account and we want that every object to use the same value for the interest rate, say 4.5%, then that data should be globally available for all the objects. Every object should make use of the same interest rate. So that is what is static data member. Now it is possible that some of the object may use the different value, because it is possible when there are many objects, some object may attempt to make different values than the standard values, and to resolve that conflict only we will go for using static variable or static data member. right? So static data members are members of the class and not of any object. So one more key property here is the static data member will be present within the object, but that will be not part of the static data member will present within the class, but that will not be part of any of the object of the class. That they are not present within any of the objects. So they will be not present within any of the objects. So these are the key properties of the static data member. So I'll take the help of diagram so that you can understand the concept properly. What actually is a static data member? Right. So once we have declared a class, this is a class, and a class has normal variable int a, and another one is static int b. Static keyword is always used to indicate the static data member. So this class is having two data members. There are two data members present within the class. There are two data members present in the class. One is normal data member, another one is static data member. Now by using class, we will create objects. By using class, we will create objects. That means object n, object 3, object 2, and object 1. So by using the class, we are going to declare the variables of the class. The variables of the class are called as objects. This is first object, second, third, and so on up to n. Whenever you declare variables of an object, variables of a class, what happens? The memory will be reserved for the variables and data members and member functions. What is the data member here? A is a data member. What is another data member? B. Memory will not be reserved for B. That is common for all the objects. That means this variable will be present as a global variable. It will not be local to any of the objects. Similarly, object 2. Object 2 will be having memory reserved only for variable A. That is normal data member, not for the static. Similarly, object 3 will be having memory reserved for only variable A, not for variable B. Similarly, object N will be having for variable A, not for variable B. Why? Because if variable B is given everywhere, then these objects can have different values. Say for example, the B will have 10 value here, then B can have 7, then any other value. So that we don't want here. The purpose of static data member is to have constant value across all the objects. So that's why the memory will not be reserved for this, but that is implicit. That is common data available across all the objects. All the objects will have access to that common data. That is somewhere in the memory, we will be reserving memory for that, and we will we will assign some value for that, say 4.5. What is this? This is a static data member. 4.5 is a static data member. 4.5 is a static data member, and that value is common for all the objects. Memory will not get reserved independently for that object. What happens? Every object will have access to that object 1, object 2, object 3, and then object n. Every object will have access to that, but no independent memory will be reserved for the static data member. So that is the purpose of static data member. So what it indicates here, static data member is part of the class, but it is not part of the object. It is not part of the object. So why it is not part of the object? The objects may change the value of the, they may have different values during the execution. To avoid that, we will reserve the memory separately for the static variable, and that variable is common for all the objects. That variable is common for all the objects. So that is what is static data member. And the static data member is will be always part of the class, but that will not be part of the object. It is implicitly understood that the static variable will be same. Static variable will be same across all the objects. Across all the objects. So if you want to change the value of the static variable, then you have to change the value of the static variable in the location where you have declared, in the location where you have declared. So that is very basic fundamental of the static data member. Static data member. So one example is being taken here. So in the account class, interest rate of floating point type of data. Some one variable is being declared and with the static keyword. So when you use the static keyword, what it indicates? Interest rate is a static data member. So it is a static data member. And what properties it will satisfy? It will satisfy all the properties whatever we have explained here. Whatever object you create for that class, memory will be reserved only for the normal data member, not for the static data member. And whatever code you want, you can write here in the rest of the class account. Now, whenever you write a statement of static data member inside a class, that will not cause any memory to get allocated for it. So you must remember this. Whenever I write a static data member, that is what is static data member in our case, interest rate is the static data member. And for static data member, memory will not get reserved automatically. Memory will not get reserved automatically. You should reserve memory somewhere. You should reserve memory somewhere. So this is class. Right, I'll just remove this. What is the name of the class we have here? Name of the class is account. Account is the name of the class. In account, we have one static data member, the static float interest rate. That is static floating point type of data. And what is the name of the variable? Interest underscore rate. Interest underscore rate. Same example I am taking now. So static variable is declared. Once you declare the static variable, static data member is interest rate here, that will be part of all the objects, but memory will not get reserved for that. So you should exclusively or explicitly we have to reserve memory for that. That means without fail you should reserve memory. How do we reserve memory? This is how I am going to reserve memory for that variable. How? By using scope resolution operator. By using scope resolution operator. What this statement tells here is interest rate is a member, data member present within the class, which is belonging to present within the class account, and its data type is float. And its data type is float. So this is how we have to exclusively reserve memory for that. That is, if you don't reserve, the compiler will produce an error. That means for that purpose, we have to allocate memory for the interest rate. So how do you allocate memory? See, only for the static data members, we have to allocate memory exclusively. For other data members, memory will get allocated automatically. For other data members, memory will get allocated automatically. So along with the static, if we have one more data member in our class here, what is that? Int A. For this A variable, the memory will be allocated automatically whenever you create the object, but not for the static data member. For static data member, we have to allocate memory exclusively. How do you allocate? By using this statement. That is, floating point type of data is being declared, which is belonging to account class, and use the scope resolution operator to indicate the variable name, then interest underscore rate. So this is exclusive. This is what? Exclusive declaration of the reserving memory for the static data member. This is how we reserve memory for the static data member. This is must. If you don't write this order, the memory will not be reserved for the static data member. For other data members, memory will be allocated automatically. And once you reserve memory, you should give some initial value for the static data member. Say for example 4.5 in this case. If you want that every object to use the fixed value or interest rate as 4.5, do initialize that. That means every object, they will assume value for this interest rate as 4.5. Object 2 will assume value for interest rate as 4.5. Object 3 will assume value for interest rate as 4.5 and 4.5. That means this object will be, this static data member will be accessible across all the objects. It will be accessible across all the objects. I hope you have understood the concept of static data member. The memory for static data member is reserved. We have to reserve exclusively, but that is static data member is not part of the object. It is only part of the class. It is only part of the class. Right? So introducing static data member does not increase size of the objects. Means if you have the static data member, it will not increase size of the objects of the class. If whatever size of the object is there, that will be only for the size of the other data members, not for the static data member. Say for example, this integer is taking 4 bytes and float is taking 8 bytes. Float is taking 8 bytes. So when you create object of this, the size of this object 1 will be only 4. Size of object 2 will be 4. Right? So only the size of the non-static data members will be the size of the object. So it will assume the size of 4 bytes. So size of object 2 will be 4 bytes. Size of object 3 will be 4 bytes. Object n will be 4 bytes. Why? Because only the size for the, only the memory will be reserved for the non-static data member. Whereas for static data member, it will assume it will take 8 bytes, but that will be not part of the object. That will be not part of the object. Right? So that is how the size of the object will not be affected by the size of the static data member. The size will be independent of that. Why? Because the memory for the static data member will be reserved somewhere independently. We are reserving memory for the static data member somewhere independently. This is one example which demonstrates that. So A is an integer variable. In this book, it is assumed that it will take 4 and it will also take 4 and character will take 1 byte. That will take 1 byte. This specific example, right? Depending on the compiler, the size will vary. Whereas the static float s, this is one variable. So what it says, s is a static variable. S is a static data member of class A. And when you say s as a static data member, we should allocate memory for that independently. And this is where we are doing. We are allocating memory for that. What is that? Floating point type of data which is belonging to class A and name of the data is s and it is initialized with a value of 1.1. It is initialized with a value of 1.1. So scope resolution operator is being used for initializing the static data members also. So this is one of the uses of scope resolution operator. Now when you execute the main function, within the main, what we are just trying to show the size of the static data members. We're just trying to display the size of the static data, size of the objects of the class. What is the size of the A? So 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 9. So 9 is the size of this class. If you can see here, the size of this EST is being ignored. The size will not be calculated. It is not calculated. Why it is not calculated? Because static data member will not be part of the class. It will not be part of the class. It will not be part of the objects. And here, once you declare, once you calculate the size, we will be leaving the size of this because memory for this is allocated here independently. That's why the static data members will show the will use the independent memory, and that memory will be used by all the objects. So such other examples are also there for static data members. So only key point what you have to take away for the static data members is it is part of the class, but it is not part of the object. So once we have static data members, we will also have the static member functions. So the static member functions are exclusively used for modifying the static data members. That means they are, it is underlined, the function's only purpose is to access or modify the static data members of the class. So like how we have within the class data members and member functions, we will also have static data members and static member functions. The purpose of static member functions is they will only access the static data members. They will only access the static data members. One second. When we have a class, data member, it is a normal data member, whereas it is a static int b is a static data member. And when we have function here f1, and then we have one more static called static f2. So this is a normal data member. This is a normal data member of the class, whereas this is the static data member of the class, and this is normal member function of the class, and this is static member function of the class, right? So this is what we have in the scenario. The whole the only purpose of this static member function is it can have access to only the static data member. That's it. The only purpose of static member functions is to access and modify the static data members, because the static data members are common data value which should be given for all the objects, and all the functions should not be able to access that data because that is the common data, and there must be someone responsible for changing the value of that. For that purpose, we use some static member functions. The purpose of the static member functions is they should access only the static data members. So suppose there is a function called set interest rate. That means in our example, we are taking the interest rate as the static data member, and we are creating a function called set interest rate so that it can modify the interest rate. Earlier, we have set the value of static data member interest rate as hello sir. Sir, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಸರ್, ತಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಂತ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಿಡುದು ಸರ್. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಓಕೆ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. So the only purpose of static member function is to modify the static data member. Yes. I just close the windows to avoid the disturbance. Okay, interest rate is the static data member, and we are declaring set interest rate function to modify that particular data. Now, interest rate is a static data member, and we have defined one static member function with the help of static keyword. What is that? Name of the function is set interest rate, and its only purpose is it has to modify this static data member. It has to modify this static data member. So how it is going to modify? We have, as usual, we have reserved memory for the static data member, and we have initialized the value of interest rate with the value 4.5. Now, this is the static member function, that is set interest rate is a static member function which is able to modify the value of the static data member. Interest rate is the static data member. So the interest rate is the static data member, and for the static data member we are able to assign some value. We are able to assign some value. What is that P? P can be anything. Earlier the interest rate was 4.5. If you specify in P 9.5, that 9.5 will be assigned to the static data member. So no other member function is allowed to access the static data member. Only the static member function F2 is allowed to access the static data member B. Now if F1 tries to access this static data member B, that is nothing but an error. That is not possible. No other function is allowed to access the static data member. Only static member functions can access. So these are the some key aspects about the static data member and static member function. This is how we are calling that static member function. Static member function is being called here, which is belonging to account class. Invoke the static member function set interest rate by passing 5 as the parameter. Earlier the interest rate was what? Interest rate was 4.5. Now interest rate is being changed to 5. So when you call this function, when you call this function set interest rate of 5, so the function definition will be called. So where is that function definition? Yes, this is the function definition. And what is the value of P here? Value P is 5, and that 5 will be assigned to interest rate. That 5 will be assigned to interest rate. So static data member will be accessed only by the static member function. Now we have one more concept called objects and functions. Like how we pass parameters to the functions, we can also pass objects to the function. We can also pass objects to the function. Like we have the concept one function F1 can call another function F2. Function F1 can call another function F2 by passing parameters. So after execution, the F2 can return some values. Either if it wants, it can return or does not return. Now, when we pass these parameters, very similar to parameters, we can also pass similar to these parameters. We can also pass objects as the parameter. Objects as a parameter. That means functions can receive the objects and they can return the objects. Functions can receive the objects and receive the objects. Functions can receive the objects and return the object. That is possible. That is what is the object and functions. The objects can appear as local variables inside the functions. They can also be passed by value or by the reference to the function. You can pass them either by value or by the reference. So finally, they can be returned by value or by reference from the functions. That's what I explained here. Either you can pass the object by value or reference, then return the object by value or the reference to the calling function. So one example of program can be assumed like this. So it is just a function to add the invoking object with another object. Whichever object with respect to which we are calling the add function by passing another object as a parameter. And this is what is the add function, the prototype of the add function. The rest of the definition we can write it. Now this is where the add function is being called, body of the function. Before going for this execution, I start the execution from the main part. So that is how the execution will begin. So we are declaring three objects here, D1, D2 and D3 of class distance. D1, D2 and D3 of class distance. So we know that D1, D2 and D3, three objects are being declared. So let us first declare D1, D2 and D3, three objects. Right? Objects are being declared. And what are the data members? I feet and F inches. The same example is being taken everywhere. I feet value and F inches value. I feet value and F inches value for the third object D3. Third object D3. What is the next statement? On to the D1 object, we are invoking set feet function and set it with a value of 5. That means D1's I feet will get a value of 5. That is function invocation, how the function gets called. The function definition we have seen earlier. That is set feet of 5. Set feet of 5 definition we should write here in the main function. That is earlier definition we have written. That part is not written here. Again that part I need not explain how the feet will be called. Only this addition function is being called. Here definition of the rest of the functions we have to write it here, which we have already discussed. And among them, this is the definition of the set feet function. So set feet onto the D1 object, what it will do, it will set a value as 5. Then for F inches, D1 onto the D1 object, we are invoking set inches function by passing 7.5 as the parameter. That means what is the inches value now? Inch will be 7.5. F inches will be 7.5 onto the D1 object. Next statement is we are calling set feet function by passing 3 as the parameter onto D2 object. That means D2 object will get a value of 3. D2 object will get a value of 3 for the I feet data member. Next, set inches function is being called onto the D2 object by passing 6.5 as the parameter. That means it will get a value of 6.5. D2 object will get a value of 6.5. Next, this is where we are invoking the add function. This is where we are passing object as a parameter now. Which object we are passing? 6.25. 6.25. Yes, here I have written 6.5. It must be 6.25. It must be 6.25. And this statement. So what I will do is this statement. This is where we are passing objects as the parameter. That is D1 dot add of D2. D1 dot add of D2. This is what is object. D2 is one object. You can see here D1, D2 and D3. All three are objects. We are invoking add function on D1. That is D1 dot add of D2 and the resultant value is being stored in D3. What this tells here is this line. The add function is being invoked on D1 object. We are calling add function of the D1 object by passing D2 as the parameter. That means this is nothing but we are trying to perform D1 plus D2. We are trying to perform D1 plus D2. So let us see the definition. Let us see the definition of D1 plus D2. Yes, this is here. We have called add function on D1 object, and what is the object received here? D2 is the object received here. See here, look at this. This function call, what we are trying to do here is with this function call, This line I will explain. With this function call, we are calling definition of the add function. We are calling definition of the add function. What is the parameter it is receiving? D2 is the parameter it is receiving. D2 is the parameter it is receiving. Now we will take the normal temporary variable and we'll add the 2 inches values, feet values, that is d1 dot I feet plus d2 dot I feet is equal to d3 dot I feet. Add f inches, then keep it in the d3, right? Now if we can add here inches, 7.5 plus 6.25, it will exceed 12 inches. So then we have to add those additions. If it is increasing beyond 12 inches, then we will take it as 1 feet plus other value. So that is the earlier function what we have discussed. Ultimately what we have to concentrate here is we are able to pass objects to the functions. D2 is an object. So temporary object is being taken. Temp.ifeet equal to ifeet plus dd dot ifeet. What is this ifeet? This ifeet basically this is nothing but this ifeet is nothing but d1 dot ifeet. It is understood that d1 dot ifeet. Why? Because we are calling the function on d1 object itself. We are calling the function on d1 object itself. See here. What is the statement? d1 dot add of d2. I'll write that statement here. d1 dot add of d2. So what we are trying to do here is we have called add function on d1 object itself by passing d2 object as a parameter. So if you write ifeet, that is nothing but we are referring ifeet value of the d1 object. When you refer only ifeet, that is nothing but we are referring ifeet value of this d1 object. It is understood. Now what is the ifeet value of d1 object? Ifeet value of d1 object is 5. Ifeet value of d2 object is 3. So 5 plus 3 will be added and that will be stored in the value. And similarly, set inches function will be called and this additions of the inches will be done. Addition of the inches will be done and finally temporary object will be written. So that temporary object will be written. And what is this temporary? Temp is nothing but an object. An object is being written now. So this was the function call and this is the return value. So what is being written here? Function object is being written. Object is being written. So that will be assigned to the D3. So what will be the sum roughly if we do 5 plus 3 is equal to 8. 7.5 plus 6.25 is how much? 7.5 plus 6.25. 7 plus 6, 13.75. So 13.75 means plus 1 feet you have to do here. Plus 1 feet and remaining is 1.75. If I am not wrong, it is 1.75. Yes, you can see here how it is being added. 9 feet and f inches is 1.75. The output what it shows 9 feet and 1.75. So why it will become 9 feet? Even though feet value is 5, feet value is 3 here, but the inches are exceeding 12. When the inches are exceeding 12 here, minus 12 you have to do for this. How much we get? 1.75 is the inches. So inches will have 1.75 for D3 object and feet will be 9. So that is how we can pass objects to the functions. Objects and functions, this was what I wanted to cover in this class. So this is what I have covered now. Right? Objects and functions is over. That means the first module is completed. First module is completed. Still we are in C++. That means the second module beginning also up to here we have the concepts of C++. Then this is the place where we start with the classes and objects. This is the place where we start with the classes and objects. So is there any doubts? Anyone has any other questions after completion of one module? do attend the classes regularly. What I can see is I think now the trend is better compared to earlier. If you attend all the classes, then it will be useful.